I just think as a people, as Africans, and also as Black people in the US, I think it's good that we have different opinions because for people to just assume, oh, everyone thinks the same, I don't think that's healthy for us.
You are a fan of President Trump. What makes President Trump tick?
There's been a huge shift in the political landscape in the US in the last 6 months to 1 year. And there have been a number of reasons for that. So if you look across the landscape, you've had a number of very prominent Democrats shift to supporting President Trump. I think there were a number of things that happened that contributed to that. Some of it has to do with the extent of the legal battles that were brought against him. I think people were very surprised at the extent to which the political opponents leveraged the legal system to prevent him from being on the ballot. So I do think the extent of legal battles was a little bit too far. That's one. The second thing that I think increased President Trump's popularity was the assassination attempts. So now there were people who thought the one in Butler may or may not have been real, but I think the vast majority of Americans and the rest of the world, because again, we're living in a very digital age, so people were able to actually see that live either on the internet or on news channels. People saw that and believed that that was, again, a little bit too far. I also think one of the things President Trump has been very smart about is figuring out where Americans are very frustrated. So Americans have for a long time been frustrated about government waste. For a long time, Americans had been frustrated about several cultural issues. And he found all of those and he said, I'm going to bring the common sense position. And so his second term is also very different from his first term. And I think it's also different from what a second term would have been consecutively from the first term. So if all of the lawsuits did not happen, if the raid of Mar-a-Lago did not happen, if the assassination attempts did not happen, I think you would have seen a much more measured President Trump. It would have been a different President Trump because it was a second term and he knew he wouldn't run again, but it would have been a more measured President Trump. There's an authenticity to President Trump that people appreciate. You may not like it. I've worked with a lot of people that I don't like. It's not about likability. It's about being able to get a job done. So I think people appreciate that authenticity. And I also think because of some of the common sense policies, a lot of people feel like they can relate to what he's advocating. He's advocating to eliminate spending. He's advocating, for girls. He's advocating for different things that are just common sense and don't always necessarily align with the traditional media narratives about him.
How about the African perspective? A lot of Africans are excited about President Trump. They love President Trump.
So the African perspective, I think there are a number of areas where President Trump is advocating for. Countries in Africa have serious issues around that, whether it's human trafficking or kidnapping or different things. So the security side of his strategies are going to be very important. I think the economic strategy is going to be important as well, where African countries are going to be able to partner with the president and this administration for reasonable and meaningful economic policies that can truly contribute to growth and excellence across the continent. So there is an opportunity here, if we're wise enough to take it, for African countries to really think about the business strategies and the economic strategies and how we can partner with the U.S. to really accelerate African growth and progress.